Hi, this is Staci Sadler, and I am going to talk about my book, or Personalities. And I want to talk about the layer of light that can be around some people that's called Imperial Topaz. Okay, it's the last chapter I wrote in the book, and it falls under the category of colors of light that can be around people born after or during 2012. So we're talking about children at this point. And not all of them are so little anymore, so it's fun because I've been able to see some history, which I wasn't able to see when I originally wrote about them. So the Imperial Topaz is also called the Phoenix. That's the archetype I gave it. If you know what the Phoenix is, it's symbolic of resurrection, of rising again. In practical terms, if you know someone that is an Imperial Topaz or has that as one of their main layers of light around their body, it means that they operate from vibes because it's in the spiritual family. So they're affected by things energetically. They tend to be more multidimensional than more singularly focused, like somebody who was emotional based or somebody who was logic based, for example. So they tend to be affected more, but also to be affecting more things on a vibe level or an intuitive level. Imperial Topaz, that said about them, they have a very grounding quality to their presence. When you know a child that's an Imperial Topaz, when you're around them, you kind of feel like they're that kid that looks at you and it's just like, I know all there is to know about you. And it's a little bit of an unsettling feeling, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's just, they don't feel a need to be or do or say anything that is just not what they really are and what they're really about or what they're really interested in, which is a really good quality, but we're not really used to that in our culture. So let me see. So I always like to try to, like I'm in the Imperial Topaz chapter, and in the different chapters when I do these, I like to give a little bit of what I wrote so that I can remember too. So some of the things I knew, right, and it's different from seeing it in practicality versus knowing what the energy feels like. But what the energy feels like, they see trials as part of a beautiful, intricate design to evolve the human soul. So Imperial Topazes on some level have an understanding of what we're doing here, that we're supposed to be experiencing things, they're supposed to be stretching us beyond what we think we're capable of, and ultimately that it will be okay and it will be for our good. So they have an understanding of that. They're definitely personal growth seekers. They have a feeling to them of, I've already done this before. Like there's a sense of that to them, a sense of wisdom, like the wise soul. They're good with having a body. As I mentioned with some of the other aura personalities, are uncomfortable with the whole physical experience. Imperial Topazes are not. They're totally fine and at home in their bodies and are happy to be engaged. In some ways, they feel a little bit like a red to me, and sometimes they feel a little bit like a violet to me. So interestingly, because color of light wise, they don't share anything with either of those colors, but personality wise, both violets and reds have a very large presence. And I would even say with violets, there's some psychic presence with it too, but with reds, violets, Imperial Topaz, there's a real sense of physicality, presence, and groundedness to them for other people. They're bigger energetically than they are physically, I guess I would say. So something with them is so I just said abundance and self-actualization. So they don't, it's a view on life, right? And that seems like a really developed thing that only an adult would have. But there's this internal gift that they have to understand the purpose. So an acceptance in them that you don't feel with everybody else. They can be shy children. That doesn't mean low self-esteem though. So I think that's important to note that, or insecurity. It just can mean quiet, observant, present. Let's see. So I said new kind of relationship. Yeah, one of the things that I really felt when I empathed this energy was their real sense of personal understanding of personal accountability, which is so cool. Like they actually like to be responsible for themselves. But in turn, if you're in a relationship with them, they also really want you to be responsible for yourself. So that's a big lesson to be learned with them. Yeah, let's see. I said they live without regret. Doesn't mean they don't offend, right? So even, when you have somebody who's really good at something, it doesn't mean they know how to be good in that thing in the relationships with other people. So that's part of their learning curve, is their relationships with other people, and learning how to bring this like confidence, this groundedness, and have it work in their relationship dynamics, which sounds really great to be in. But as all the personalities that I will teach about, our egos or our arrogance can be in that very thing that is our gift, or our spiritual gifts. So it's definitely true for Imperial Topazes as well. I wrote that Imperial Topazes have the feel of both the mother and the father archetype. I think it's really interesting to talk about them because they're children, right? So they have this ability to provide nurturance, but also stimulate that independence and autonomy. They amplify courage and integrity in others and motivate them to live purposefully, right? And usually that happens by example. So the lesson always is to learn how to be really generous in that thing and really believe in others and see them in all their potential. So that's a journey for Imperial Topaz as well, is to see that potential in others. One note with Imperial Topaz is worth mentioning. So when I was empathing these layers of light, the several that I'd never heard of, including Imperial Topaz was the only one that had previously been on the earth. So meaning it's been here for a long time. I don't know how long. And last time I checked, I think I checked that there were maybe 2 now on the planet at this time. At another point years ago, it was like 5. Before that, it was like 7. So maybe an older generation, but 2 on the planet. None are in the United States. So it's kind of like, it's best to just think of Imperial Topaz as same with all the other new crystals that have only been here since 2012. Anyway, so that's Imperial Topaz, just a little tidbit about them. Yeah, and you can read more about them in the book. But just think of them powerful, stable, consistent, know who they are, can feel intimidating, but it's only because the rest of us are still working to be comfortable with who we are.